Welcome to Shanghai Golf Course. We're in this wonderful location on Sun Island, just outside of Shanghai in China. And we've got a wonderful opportunity here to do some of the work that you're going to cover within your training. So I think the first opportunity here is to do some questioning and listening and demonstrate some of those skills, and then we'll move on and show how non-directional coaching can help and enable people to play better golf. What I really like about what we're about to do is that we're here in the tournament for the World Golf Teachers Cup, and we've just done round one. It's been quite a tough day, playing off the back tees with the wind blowing between 20 and 30 miles an hour, and that's caused all sorts of problems. Keith here shot a round of golf that was certainly unexpected. So we're going to start and ask him a few questions about that round, and then see how where it leads us. So Keith, first of all, thank you very much for coming to speak to me in this situation, and hopefully we'll be able to do some things that will help you shoot the score that you want to today. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your round, what springs to mind as those things mostly that you could have done better?
I think the start of the round didn't go well. It was played a 2 or 3 holes downwind that didn't take advantage of the downwind situation, and then as soon as it turned against the wind, started trying to hit the ball too hard into that wind, and timing wasn't good, tempo was poor, and that led to a number of poor shots, which then set the tone for the rest of the round of golf.
Okay, so when we talk about timing and tempo, they're very nondescript answers. Is there something more specific? Was it more tempo, more timing, or was it something else that was the biggest challenge?
Well, I'm saying timing and tempo. It was probably not completing the backswing correctly, and then starting down or starting the transition too aggressively. And that led to just poor ball striking.
So that's
not really giving myself enough time to sort of complete the backswing and then transition into the downswing smoothly.
So just again to help me understand a little bit more, would these be things that you would normally consciously attempt to do, or is this something you just know and it's allowed to happen?
Yeah, it's something that I'm aware of. When I'm swinging well, I can feel I'm in a good position at the top of the backswing, and from there I can swing freely through the ball. Today I didn't get that feeling.
Okay.
I just felt I didn't give myself sufficient time to make a good golf swing.
And did you go attempt to change that while you was on the course today?
I did, but once you're on the golf course, you're still focusing on the shot outcome, the hole by hole that you're playing, and the shots that you're trying to execute as well. So sometimes it's difficult it is difficult to take a swing thought into a competitive round of golf.
Yeah, absolutely. So you know what it feels like when you've completed the backswing, and you can sense that you can then be aware of transition, and is that when it works well for you?
That's right, yeah. And it feels the transition from backswing to downswing smooth, and I seem to have loads of time.
So it's not something you have to cognitively work on, it's just something when you're doing it right, it happens.
Yes.
Okay, so is there anything particularly that has to happen for you to get this longer backswing that allows you to become aware and avoid blackout through transition?
I can't say I'm particularly aware of anything. It's more just a feeling.
So, I mean, you played good golf for a good few years, and I'm going to put a little bit of my map on this because I do know something about your golf swing because we've worked together a couple of times. When you've searched for this before, how have you gone about finding it?
When I'm practicing, not on the golf course, but when I'm practicing and getting that feeling, I tend to focus very much on turning my right shoulder in behind me, and then everything else falls into place. And then when I'm aware that the right shoulder's in the right place, I can then freely release from there.
Okay, so that sounds quite a cognitive way to go about it. So again, let me try and understand this. So you'll go away and practice, and you'll be focusing on turning the right shoulder further, and that definitely gives you that physical requirement that you have to have for you to become aware of transition and the smoothness of transition. So how do you then take that to the course once you've recognised that and you've changed that?
It's just a feeling. When I'm warming up and I'm aware of that and there's a good feeling, then it's a case of just being comfortable with it and being confident with it, and then on that particular day, just feeling good about it.
Again, I'm trying to understand. Confident with the fact that you're going to cognitively turn the backswing further, or
it's just warming up and sort of practicing before the round. With that feeling, then when it feels right and it feels good, then it kind of gives you the impression that you're going to go out on the golf course.
I think I understand. So what happens is when you're aware that this is causing you a problem, you then go and practice it, and then your confidence grows, and that is then able to repeat itself on the golf course. Mm-hmm. And is that always the case? Is there?
I couldn't say always, but probably most of the time.
Out of 10?
8 times out of 10.
8 times out of 10. And would you say that then 8 times out of 10 is enough, or should we be looking even further into this as to what could make that happen 10 times out of 10?
Ideally, it would be 10 times out of 10.
So is there something then that you haven't thought of yet that we could add to lengthening the backswing?
I'm sure there is. I've not thought about it.
So if you did just reflect on that for a little bit now, would there be something else? Because again, we're tapping into your own skills and knowledge here. So just go to a place that you've never been before now and think of what else you could do to get this sense of timing in the backswing that allows you to work in transition and avoid blackout.
I think we're probably becoming more aware of the speed of the backswing as well, and instead of it just being where my right shoulder's going, it's actually from taking the club away to get to the top of the backswing, being much more aware of that whole process.
Right, good. So that sounds a little bit in a game to me. Mm-hmm. From your experience, does this ring a few bells that maybe you could put on an in-game practice session now?
Yeah, I mean, definitely back hit would fit, or a variant of back hit.
Okay, so a variant of back hit. Is there anything specifically that you could think of that you could do, or would you like me to give you a few ideas?
It could be just counting. It could be just saying something or whatever that gives me the right time, and takes the right amount of time to get me into a good position.
So if I suggested then that we went on the range now and just notice what you noticed about the length of your backswing, and so you put your attention and focus into that. At a gut level, does that sound as though that could give you some insights that you may not have had before?
I think so, yeah. I'm pretty sure that if I became more aware of more than just my right shoulder, then that would certainly help.
Fantastic. So I'm going to cover just a brief two other things within the process that you work on. First of all, we're going to find out his motivation for doing this. So if we were able to go out today and give you a new sense of rhythm on your backswing through using this inner game process, and that you were going to be able to take that to the course tomorrow, what would that get you or allow you to do?
It would give me a lot more freedom. It would allow me to select shots on the course and look to a ball flight or an outcome on the golf course instead of trying to find and search for feelings within the body, within a movement. Trying to slow things down or trying to...
Okay, so it takes you out of that cognitive effort,
yeah,
and allows you to flow through. So this freedom, what if you had that freedom tomorrow, what would that get you or allow you to do?
It allowed me to play the golf course more strategically.
So if you play the golf course more strategically tomorrow, what would that get you or allow you to do?
Well, that would better scores, but it would also make the shot selection more clear. The specific targets that I'd be looking to would be more specific. They would be more clear. So instead of focusing on a movement, I would be focusing on where I wanted to leave the ball.
Excellent. Okay. So I'm just going to pull up now the benchmark for the lesson, which I think I think that over time the students have found setting the benchmark one of the toughest areas of the course. So the benchmark for this particular exercise is quite simple. Keith, the benchmark for success of this lesson, I would suggest, is, as we know, it's always a process. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go out with probably choose one of the clubs that you found the most difficult to get your rhythm today, and use that particular club to a specific target. And what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to ask you to make a swing and just notice the length of the backswing. Right. And then all I'm going to ask you to do after you finish the swing is I'm going to say to you, what did you notice about that particular swing? You're going to give me the feedback, and then we're going to hone in on that particular item and get even more information and even more focus on that particular subject. Once we've done that 10 to 15 times and we're really honing in on something, then we'll start to move the targets around and try and get a little bit more. True coaching always has challenges. So once we get that going, then we'll begin to pick specific targets and we'll get a little bit more trying to reenact the golf course. Yep. And seeing how that process holds up and whether it's got any challenges and we need to do any changes to make that. Does that sound like if we did that would be a great lesson?
Good.
Okay, so we're going to leave you at that point and we're going to go off and do some work. Thank you. Okay, so following on from the little bit of work we just did with Keith, we've got Etienne, who's also just played, and he'd like to enjoy the same session that I just did with Keith there. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you did today and what you'd like to do better tomorrow?
As you obviously know, and we've discussed this piece before, the conditions out there today were really tough, especially playing on the black markers, most par 3s, 230, 240, wind swirling around, not the easiest conditions to play in. Generally on the whole, I think I was quite happy with my score, what I achieved today, considering that I hadn't had the opportunity to have a practice round, which obviously always helps. Part of your preparation to tournament, that you have a practice round.
I just want to explain very briefly, because obviously we go through, especially tournament practice round, but Etienne actually, British Airways lost his clubs for 2 days, so that's the reason why he didn't have a practice round.
So, starting off, you're pretty much playing the forced line. You don't know where the danger is. So I found myself being a little bit hesitant off the tee, really hitting a 9 off the tee, but in these conditions, you're just leaving yourself as long as possible, approaching onto the green, which meant that your chipping had to be phenomenal today. To be able to get up and down from about 20 yards. 20 yards in. As I started to gain a little bit more confidence, as the course started to open up a little bit more, I then started to improve my driver and took every hole. I had a score set in my head, which I thought was a reasonable score for the day, and if I had achieved that score, then I would have been happy walking into the golf course.
Okay, so as you look back on the round now, then what is it that you need to do better tomorrow specifically?
I think obviously now knowing the course a little bit better, I think one of the areas that I would have to obviously improve is just gain a little bit more confidence on the chipping, because you are left with some tricky chips. I found myself a lot of times using a putter from 10 yards out, just because of where the pin placements were. I just sort of had the confidence to knock it closer with the wedge as opposed to putter. I had more confidence with the putter.
So what would you have to do this afternoon to improve the confidence with the chipping?
I would have to work on various types of chips, using various clubs, working through the clubs, teaching which the chip around into the lob shot, if it's using 54, 58, and just putting myself into situations that you would find yourself on the golf course, so put yourself into the zone that you don't.
So which one of those specific shots do you know that you need to do better? If you're going to pick one of those shots, pick one of those clubs, which shot would you want to do better? That you know that you can do better?
Yeah, good question. I would say it would have to be the 20 yard in.
20 yard in, and I don't think there's any surprise that in your opening statement, in the very opening statement, you said you'd have to be very good from 20 yards in. So usually that club for the 20 yard, which club is that?
Well, once again, it varies whether you have any obstacles in front of you and the target. So if you had a bunker in front of you, you'd obviously have to use a different approach and get some light on the ball. Okay, so
let's just do an overall average one. Which club would you think that you had most control of from previous experiences of using?
It's getting difficult. I don't think I haven't had as much control today with my 54 as what I've had in the past.
Okay.
I didn't feel it with that.
Okay, so that's good. So if we said the 54, do you think that feels like the thing that we should be working on, the 54? Okay, so knowing now that we're going to work on the 54, what specifically would you need to do better to improve that confidence?
I'd say just the execution shot, gaining more confidence, looking obviously at your target where you want the ball to land, just becoming more focused on the actual shots. I did find myself today as well, for some bizarre reason, rushing a lot of the shots, and I think that's just not being confident, you just want to get it over and done with, and I think you need to spend some more time to focus on your hands.
So what specifically would you focus more in on?
I'll focus more in on on feel, getting the ball to where I'd like the ball to bounce or land. So I'd be looking at, I'd be trying to get that feel, the pre-shot routine to gain the feel, looking at the hole behind right shot, and then moving to the actual chip shots and then.
So we've got a lot of focus issues in there. And now you're saying I'd be working harder to feel, harder to feel, harder to feel. So where do you specifically notice yourself when you're feeling this shot really well?
When I feel the shot, if I had to talk from the negative side, like today I feel I was decelerating on the shot, so I need to have the feel of that I'm committed to the shot and I'm putting 100% into the shot. I'm not going into the shot with, say, 60%, if that makes sense, to it's basically get to the ball, but a deceleration instead of accelerating through. But once again, I think that's also come today with not knowing the trouble from behind the greens and playing the course as well. Maybe there's lots of water all over the place. So I was always worried that I might overget the shot. So that's caused me to decelerate the shot. So I think I just got to have that confidence to clear the left side, get through the ball, just convince the shot.
Okay, so that didn't tell me a lot about how you're going to feel. So yeah, I mean, I'm getting the sense of your lack of confidence for sure. I'm getting the sense of all the things that are allowing you to lose focus. So now what I'm saying is, if you notice yourself focusing 100% and feeling the shot in your pre-shot routine, where would you most notice that you were feeling that and you were accelerating and you were confident?
Maybe obviously been seeing it through the cup head. You know exactly the distance that will take you back. You have a gauge. You know exactly, okay, this feel becoming aware, is probably a better word to say, that if I swing to 8 o'clock to 3 to 2 o'clock, that's going to create a better feel.
Okay, so is this something that you've done before? You've used these specific 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock?
You've done before, especially for gauging the distance.
So again, I'm going to just try this one on and see whether this makes sense. So if we went out to the chipping area and we measured 20 yards out today, and you swung from 8 till 2 on that particular shot, is that right for you?
Once again, I wouldn't say it is, because I haven't gone back to look at it. I need to go back to the point when I need to.
Okay. So is again, if we carry on this route, is this something that's beginning to make sense that we should do? Okay. So if we go back there and we swing from 8 till 2, or what you think is 8 till 2, and the first thing that I do is give you feedback about whether that was 8. You'll obviously know where 2 is, so that's fine. So we'll get together and we will get those relative feedback of whether you're back to 8. And then when we get to 8, and you notice the rhythm and the tempo and the acceleration, if that's knocking it that 20 yards, then we're fine. If that's then hitting at a consistent distance with confidence, but then it's going a different, then we'll revamp out where it needs to be for that 20 yards. Does that sound like what we should be doing this afternoon?
Yeah, I think definitely.
Okay. And that's obviously also going to turn out to the benchmark. So thank you for your attention. We're going to go away now. We're going to do this work, and then we will do a little bit of reporting back about whether this has been successful or whether we need to go back with another